Hey, so you know how grading companies will not only tell you the grade, but the page color quality? Well, it can't make that much of a difference, right? Wrong. And I've got here 30 examples to show you how much white pages really does matter to collectors. The closer to the 80s, people really want, maybe even need white pages. In the 70s, people are a bit more forgiving, and in the 60s, even more forgiving. If you've ever wanted to know if there's ever a difference between a 9.8 with off-white to white pages and one with white pages, listen in, folks. Don't forget always to like and subscribe. We do have a sponsor for today's video, Dynamic Forces and Dynamite Entertainment. That's right, the folks over at Dynamite got some awesome goodies for you, and you can actually use my partnership code MINTHUNTER10, which will get you 10% off, and it works at both websites. Let's get into the list. By the way, yes, that really is a 9.8 custom label signed by Frank Miller, first appearance of Elektra. Amazing Spider-Man 252 Classic First Black Suit. We're talking about the 9.4 here today, a $300 sale in January of this year. Just a couple weeks later, the off-white to white page equivalent, same exact book, sold for $60 less at $240. Still not convinced? Listen to this, Astonishing Tales 25. We're talking about the 9.4 of the first appearance of Deathlock. Well, we got a $400 sale in May of this year, and not even a full month before, the same book, but with off-white to white pages, sold for $230. Okay, that's well over $100 there. Still not convinced? How about the first Taskmaster? Let's go for the full 9.8 here. Well, the month before, the same book, but with off-white to white pages, sold for $780 just because of page quality. Batman 357, let's take a look at a CBCS 9.6er. We've got a 414.24 price at $190. Well, let's take a look at the off-white one. Well, that one sold for $118. By the way, a 9.6 of the first Jason Todd for $118. Somebody did pretty good. Battlestar Galactica, #1, just to throw out a super different type of book here. Got a $175 9.8 just a couple months ago. Well, in that same month bracket, the off-white equivalent sold for $104. Black Lightning #1. Let's go for the 9.8. In March of this year, sold for $650 in perfect white pages. Well, the off-white sold for $504 within the same month of each other. Still not convinced? Okay, let's go. Captain America 100. Let's take it to the 60s. Let's talk about a 9.2 that sold for $2,461 in June of this year. 1 week later, the off-white equivalent sold for $1,500. How do you explain that $1,000 dip? Silver Age collectors love white pages when they can get it. DC Comics presents 26, first appearance of Raven, Cyborg, Starfire, the whole team. 9.6, we have a 2021 white pager at $876. Within the same month, the same book, but an off-white equivalent sold for $480. Woo! Keep it going. Demon #1, Jack Kirby goodness. We've got a 9.6, by the way, great grade, selling in March of this year for $1,553. Did you know that in that same month, there was a $300 less, $1,220? Interesting how the off-white can do that. Detective Comics 471, first modern reintroduction of Hugo Strange. Great cover too. Well, it was actually my 9.8. Unfortunately, it was the off-white that sold for $400 just a couple months ago. In that same month, a different one with white pages sold for $555. Too bad I couldn't have gotten white pages. I was still happy with the sale. Doorway to Nightmare #1. It's nearly a $1,000 9.8. In 2023, we had an $800 sale. Whereas just right before, we had an off-white to white copy sell for $645. Those page qualities matter, man. Eternals #1, a 9.8, sold for $475. Within that same month, we're looking at a $365, and that's the off-white. Let's look at Firestorm #1. First appearance of Firestorm, we're talking the 9.6. In March of this year, it sold for $172 with white pages. The off-white to white pages sold for $120. G.I. Joe 21 Classic. We're going all the way to the top. We're talking a 9.8 here. The white pages sold for $3,500, whereas the off-white sold for $2,485. Ooh, that's quite the dip. Big difference. Green Lantern, 85 classic. We're going to the top, 9.8. White Pager went for $2,160, whereas the off-white went for $1,800. Once again, another example, hundreds of dollars lower than the white pages counterpart. People want that perfection. Hulk, 141, first Doc Samson, 9.2. In 2023, sold for $700, whereas the off-white, a couple months later, sold for $549. Iron Man #1, we're talking a 9.0, sold for $3,360. In a tiny window, the same exact book sold, but at an off-white to white pages at $2,299. Joker #1, 9.8, $1,620 this month. Just in February of this year, the off-white sold for $960. That's $600 less there, folks. That's crazy. Marvel Premiere, 15, first Iron Fist. We had the white pager sell for $4,500, whereas the off-white went for $4,000 and some change. Marvel Spotlight 32, my example right here. The newest sale is actually the book I sold, White Pager, $1,900, within the same month on Instagram, with off-white pages sold for, I think it was $13. That jump is crazy. Shazam #1, 9.8 in 2022. We have an $853 price. Within a matter of a couple months, the same one went up at an off-white to white pages, $545. Whoa, page quality matters. Special Marvel Edition 15 for Shang-Chi. 9.2, we're talking about a $500 book in April of this year. Well, in less than a month, the same book sold for $289 with its off-white counterpart. Let's go Punisher. We have a CBCS copy of an 8.5 selling for $1,500 with white pages in 2019. Not long after, you had a $1,300 copy sell. Another couple $100 of a ding there. Strange Tales 178, let's take it to the 9.6. How about a 2024 February sale at $590 with the white pages? If you go to March, the same book, but just happens to have off-white pages, sold for $456. Swamp Thing 3, first Patrick Mann, first Abby Arcane, great book, 9.8, sold in 2021 in May for $2,000 and some change, whereas the off-white sold for $700. Whoa, big difference there. Thor 337, 9.8, first Beta Ray Bill. We have a March sale selling for $450. The off-white sold in less than a month for $350, literally $100 off the top. Wolverine Limited Series #1, we've got the 9.8, sold this month with white pages for $660, sold this month with off-white pages $539. Okay, over $100 off just for the off-white pages. X-Men 129, let's go with Kitty Pryde. Let's take it all the way to the 9.8 too. We have a $2,240 white page 9.8. The off-white sold within a month for $1,500. Don't let anyone tell you page quality doesn't matter. Final example, let's take it to the first appearance of Dazzler. Let's use a CBCS example here at a 9.4. Well, we've got a March sale at $350. Perfect white pages, of course. The off-white sold for $240 within the same month. Guys, do you care? Because it certainly seems like a lot of people care. Full admittance, I definitely care. I'm a sucker for white pages. When it gets to the 60s, I don't really care so much. But with 80s, certainly 90s, but even 70s, I find myself wanting to strive for white pages. The farther and farther we get away in history here, the harder it's going to be to keep finding books with white pages, though. Well, what do you think? Let me know down below, and as always, keep on hunting. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey.
Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.